All right, throw this on. Throw the link for the broadcast in Discord, and then we'll be set. Uh, all right, that's everything. So I guess I'll just explain what we're doing today. So I'm going to be going through every piece of content I can find about this Flutter challenge. It's probably about 6 hours. I'll split it up between today and maybe not, maybe today and Sunday. Um, because I feel like the first part of this challenge is really understanding. Um, for those of you who don't know what the challenge is, uh, the Flutter puzzle hack right here. Um, video. So this is insane. If you win, you get $2,500 and a MacBook Pro. Runner up gets $1,000. Third place 500. And there's three different categories I think where you can win a MacBook. Four categories. Yeah, so four categories where you can win a MacBook. Um, and a ton of ways to win Flutter swag, to win money. It's crazy. And so it looks like it's growing by about. But first thing we're gonna do is roll. Uh, these are more better understand application function successfully installed. New app make available free of charge without any restriction for testing. Good application built. It actually doesn't say about Flutter. That's a little crazy. Flutter swag, Flutter puzzle. The past stage one will be about animation design, quality of Flutter on. That's important. That's something I definitely want to focus on: educational content, tutorial quality, um, creativity, multi-platform. So really, they've given you the functionality for this. I can show you what it looks like. Hmm. So here is puzzle. Move these around, maybe up, back, get one. Goal is to get all of them in line. So this is actually pretty okay. But it does that, and there's this as well that they give you. They give you all of the code. So look at that. It shuffles it. It does all that, and then all you're just moving them around. Let me see. I just realized. But okay, so that's what it looks like. So we're just gonna keep going through. T-shirt plus um first. Holy, okay. Awarded for um six. Holy, this is a beast. Um, that's insane. That would honestly that would help so much with just developing future things. I just got an I realized pretty much to develop sort of. Display the imagery in okay, so it looks like you give it to them. Not really. It looks like The next place that I want to go, I'll show you around the resources so you can kind of familiarize yourself with that. But so they really give you all the information you need to succeed. I mean, you could theoretically start with nothing and still be making pretty good projects with all the documentation. So we're actually, my goal is to go through all of this document with you. Sample puzzle. Oh, that's cool. You can do multiple moves. Okay. Um, that counts as one move. That's pretty cool. Is that available on the app? Let me see. Shuffle. Yeah. Okay. That's pretty cool. Is there an animation or does it just appear? I think it just appeared. Yeah. Um, but you do this one. There's actual animation. So boop. Okay. Cool. Let's go back. That's the example. So Flutter Docs. That's Flutter Apprentice is the book, which might not be anymore, but it was free for a while. I was in the book club, but I didn't do that much. I probably should have. It'd be cool to go through all of these, especially when you get to state management. If they talk about the provider package, would be helpful, as well as data. Actually, all of the value to go through. Familiar with deploying, hosting, Firebase. I'm just gonna add it. We kind of text as what. So here's what we need, or we know it's going to be a Flutter app puzzle. Have the starter code, which we need to go through. Um, the goals. There's already functionality, so the goals are really it's UI. We'll say innovative UI. It's cross-platform, and it helps the community. That's going to be another big, and obviously it's like a well, like push this down. This has doesn't, but here's what we got. not as oh, but then there are some other things that they've getting started with Flutter on package view. It says utilizing Flutter. It doesn't say it needs to be in Flutter. So I wouldn't. So, um, with different modes, I okay. This we'll put over here. So that's what we've got is okay. So look at this. This is actually the judging criteria. Responsive, responsive design. So adaptive sizing, as well as multiple. I'll say inclusive controls. So if there's touchscreen, if there's like anything should be able to be used theoretically for it to work. So if I have a touchscreen, I have a mouse, I should be able to click it. So yeah, that's pretty much. Um, and PWA functionality. So this is going to be something I really have to. But it could be a really cool thing. Look, is, uh, yeah. Um, basically, from what I understand, it's like using internal storage. So if someone opens your app and they're not on Wi-Fi, can they access um, any data, or is it all dependent on server? So that's caching to a browser website. That would be cache storage if you're an application. It just depends. And if that's not, working, let me know in the comments. Animation. So animation is its own category, and kind of intimidating, because animation is not something I really say I've put enough time into. But visual appeal and then the problem with animation, you can make something but ends up not being that useful. Um, and so how do you balance? That's going to be the biggest concern. How do you balance making it visually appealing with strong animations, but also, yeah, not like losing out on functionality and just like animations. Originality is, which it says uniqueness and creativity, but really what that is from unmatched. So I'm gonna throw all this in the Discord later for everyone to go through. Probably put it in the description of the video as well. Um, best potential value to the community. So really what you're doing is you're wanting to help others. Um, and you can do that through video tutorials, and you can do that through documentation. If you're really a beast, you could make a new package. But that's really it. Best potential value for the Flutter team. So this is where you can keep it simple and you can probably help a lot of people. But at the end of the day, you also want to help the Flutter team. What's probably going to help most is something that shows off the capabilities of Flutter. So, um, best value. And my guess would be the things that they're looking for are, it would be something along the lines. Let's see what they say. So what they're really focusing on is on Flutter web developer experience, uh, which so they want feedback on Flutter web, um, which is something that I can definitely look for or think about while I'm doing it. And then also, what I would say is like documentation. It also feeds into helping them because you have very clear a very clear process, and they can now use that and showcase it. So judging criteria, really important to know. But now let's move on to cool stuff, which is actually going to I'll just do it. Output, but now I want to make sure I play a video. Okay, so when I play a video, it's going. Okay, so when I play a video, it's going. Okay, so when I play a video, it's going. Okay, so when I play a video, it's going. Okay, so when I play a video. Okay, so it sounds like it is. Let's see. So here's what I want to do also. They put out like probably 6 hours of content. They've only done part 1 or 2, I think, but Flutter puzzle challenge. What is it? How to.
When it comes to car buying, you want it simple and quick. I'm Kimmy, and this is Land Rover St. Petersburg's Fast Buy. Faster, easier, and most.
Hi, hello everyone.
Right, you can see a dash turn.
Here we go. And it doesn't look like any output is getting. So I don't know about the legality of this, but we're just.
Why don't we do that? And okay.
So I'm just gonna do a couple of things here, and Scott, you carry on figuring out your stuff. Right.
Sounds good. And I can hear Simon through another call. That's how I can hear him now.
Yes, sadly, I'll keep figuring this out. So, we'll work things out. Technical difficulties aside, welcome back, and we're gonna crack on. So I have a couple of slides I'm gonna bring up here just to cover some of the basics that we have to do each stream. We're really messing things up. All right, well, we're gonna basically be nice, be kind. We have some rules, and if you start spamming, that's it. We're gonna block you. Start being unkind, we're gonna block you. Be nice, in other words. And we will be answering your questions later on the stream. We're gonna do the first half of the stream, puzzle hack, and the second half we'll jump Q&A. And during all of this, please make sure that you're queuing for your questions, and we can find them in the chat later on. We'll get back to it. Right now, we'll just introduce our first guest, Kelvin. Welcome to the stream. You are muted.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kelvin Boateng. I'm a product marketing manager here at Flutter, and I have been helping to put together the Flutter puzzle hack over the last couple months. And I'm so excited. We've seen over 3,000 participants so far, and super excited to see that number continue to grow. It grows by, I think, a few hundred every day, so more than seeing that number. I'm really excited to see what kind of submissions that come in. But before we kind of get into all the nitty-gritty about the slide puzzle and all that, I kind of want to talk a little bit about what the puzzle hack is all about. So the idea for the puzzle hack kind of came after we did the Flutter Apprentice giveaway, in which for 3 months we asked anyone interested in Flutter to essentially opt in to reading Flutter through Flutter Apprentice, a book that the Rainbow Tutorial Series team put together. And we saw an amazing response to that. 45,000 developers all told actually opted in and read Flutter Apprentice. And so we thought, well, what better way to show off the skills you've learned than by asking you to build something, and build something fun to play, and build something that you could kind of share with your friends and family, kind of experience together, and customize to be your own. So that's kind of where the puzzle hack came in. And the other side of the puzzle hack, I guess, is all about using Flutter's visual capabilities, kind of reimagine a somewhat basic experience. So and then using your creativity and kind of everything, pulling all that together to create something that like no one else and no other platform / framework could really bring together. So with all that being said, I'm really excited to actually be able to have Bart, the VGG developer who actually built the sample puzzle. He's going to talk today all about how he built the sample. He's going to give you some tips about how to actually build your own sample and what you do about that. So I'm excited to introduce Bart.
Hey Bart, welcome to the stream.
Hey, thanks for the introduction, Kelvin. I'm Bart, and I'm the developer who helped to develop the side puzzle. And excited to show you how it's built and how you can contribute your own puzzle submission.
If you've got any questions throughout the stream, guys, for Bart or for Kelvin, make sure that they go into the chat queue as requested. I actually have a question right now. Is there an end to when people can sign up for the challenge? Like, have they got a couple of weeks, or can they sign up until the end date? Is there?
Okay, so
yeah, 100%. You can sign up until the very last day. So the submissions are open until February 28th. You can find that on, I believe, flutterhack.devclose.com. So you can go and register your session all the way up until I believe it's like 3 p.m. on February 28th. So make sure you do that if you want your project to be eligible for having over $50,000 worth of prizes, with MacBooks and a whole lot more swag, cash prizes as well. So plenty of incentive to do so.
So this link is on screen and it's also in the description. So if you come here later, you can find it down below. All right, so Bart, the stage is yours, and we'll see you guys afterwards. Oh,
I am back. I was going to say 2 things. Number 1, I think this is the longest I've kept my mouth shut on stream ever. And second, as Simon said, be decent to each other, all that happiness, no abuse. And the one thing that you didn't point out, if you are abusive enough to get yourself banned here, we're going to make sure to talk to everybody who runs every other Slack and Discord and everything and make sure you're banned everywhere. So
that'd be nice. All right,
yes.
Bart, the stage is yours.
Thank you. So, hi, I'm Bart. I'm an engineer behind this slide puzzle. I'm an engineer at Third Ventures, and I'm going to talk to you and show you how you can build your own slide puzzle submission based on the sample that we have prepared. And first, let's talk about the architecture of slide puzzle. So there's a lot of different options for state management, such as provider, get, or block. And we at VGV mostly use block, so we decided to use block when creating the sample as well. So the architecture of the app is layered using blocks, and they handle everything from the game logic to theming. And if you're not familiar with how block works, you basically need to send an event to the block, and in response, the state will be emitted. The new state will be emitted. And here are some events that we can use in the puzzle sample to help speed up the process of creating.
Okay, so block is definitely something that I'm gonna have to look into if I want to be able to use code. And it'll give me a great opportunity to teach you guys about state management using block. Um, it's something that I've used, but I'm not really um, well versed in how to actually use, like block, uh, like monitor different things. So I'm excited to learn about that, but definitely after. Let's just kind of.
Your submission. So you can shuffle or reset the puzzle by sending the puzzle reset event. You can move the puzzle tile by sending the tile event. If you decide to include a timer, which tracks how much time has passed since the beginning of solving the puzzle,
Uh, okay, so these are all the functions. That's kind of cool. Um, so I'll also pull this up and just kind of show you. So, oh, whoops. That's all. None of that. So in the lib, look at all these things. Where's buddy? They've set up so many things that honestly, I think it would be wise to consider. To consider using all of the features included in the template. So like audio cues is definitely something that you can kind of I could see you using. It's just a question of how are you going to use it. Colors. I'm guessing they've declared all of the colors. Yes. Primary. That's weird. They actually imported colors because I'm like familiar with that, but and maybe that's something you have to do unless maybe you can't reference that. Yeah. Yeah. So Dashitar is this part of it. And then let's see what he has. Total help. No idea what that is. Layout. Break layout. Puzzle layout. Responsive gap. Model. Model dart. Position dart. Puzzle. Okay. Position. And when we get into scroll controlling or animation control, position is going to be really important. Ticker. Let's keep going. I guess puzzle is where the original. Let's see if we look at main. Main runs bootstrap. Um, Dude, it's overwhelming just to think of what this guy, and nothing he did is wrong. Everything he did is great. It's just I under first problem. Stress is figuring this guy. Wait, there's export view start. So here we go. Um, okay, we'll have a different session. For now, I just want to watch the guy.
You can use timer start before stop events for that. Similarly for the countdown, which just stress how much time before the beginning of the puzzle, and then you can also toggle audio of the puzzle with audio events, or you can change the time theme with theme change events. So you don't have to implement the whole puzzle game logic yourself. These blocks are here, and events are here to help you if you find them useful in your side puzzle submission. And of course, you may use them, you may modify them, but you can also create your own logic. In this sample, you'll find two themes, where the first one on the left is a simple theme, and on the right you can see a dash theme. And you can borrow as much as you need from the code base, or you can start from scratch. And when you start from scratch, you'll need to create your theme by extending a puzzle theme class, which is the base class for all themes that are currently in the sample. So puzzle theme is a class that defines the name of your theme, or for example, options such as the background color, the bottom color, and many more. And you can just in the code you can see how your theme extends the puzzle theme, and it implements a variety of options. Important property of a theme is that each theme has a puzzle layout delegate, which computes the layout of this theme, and you can reuse the same layout delegates that we have already created from sample and dasher themes. For example, if you decide to create a puzzle with the same layout as dasher, but just decide to replace dash images with your favorite pictures, you can do that by using the same layout delegate as dasher, but just replacing the images in the theme options. But if you want to go one step further and customize your layout delegate, and then you need to create your own puzzle layout delegate and provide that new instance of this delegate to the property of your theme, which you can see in the code snippet here. And the puzzle layout is implemented for desktop, mobile, and tablet. So when you create your own layout, you'll need to implement several sections of the puzzle. And here you can see three main sections, which are on the desktop layout. So the start section on the desktop layout is always going to be on the left of the screen. The voice section is in the middle of the screen, and the end section is on the right of the screen. And this is slightly different for tablet and mobile layouts. So when you implement the start section of the layout, it will appear.
Okay, this is all really not important, but it's going to give me such a better understanding what this guy is actually. Also, okay, cool. So that's still going through. Let me drop down the volume. Okay, so I'm gonna notate all the app architecture. So there's a block for um uh, file file tab. Started stop. Started stop. And Toggle audio. Change current theme with so that's change current theme. Look at how different you are. The background color, accent color change, and even when we go here, the entire thing changes. So I bet he has some sort of index to this so that when a new index is accessed, the theme is changed to that background color. It is pretty smooth. I kind of like it. So the weird thing is there's this timer started, but there's not actually a timer. There's a dash tar countdown. I don't know.
Target for stealth events for that. Similarly for the countdown, which just tracks how much time before the beginning of the puzzle, and then you can also toggle audio of the puzzle for the puzzle event, or you can change the kind of theme with theme change event. So you don't have to implement the whole puzzle game logic yourself. These blocks are here, and the events are here to help you if you find them useful in your side puzzle submission. And of course, you may use them, you may modify them, but you can also create your own logic and bunch of things. For example, if you decide to create a puzzle.
So I'm just gonna notate the time, 12 minutes, because that's code that I'll probably need, but I don't need yet. When does he start talking? 30.
Architecture of side puzzle. So there's a lot of different options for state management, such as provider, get, or block. And we usually mostly use block. So we decided to use block and create the sample as well. So the architecture of the app, you need to create your theme by extending a puzzle theme class, which is the base class for sample. You'll find two themes, where the first one on the left is a single theme, and on the right you can see a dash theme. And you can borrow as much as you need from the code base, or you can start from scratch. And when you start from scratch, you'll need to create your theme by extending a puzzle theme class, which is the base class for all themes that are currently in the sample. So puzzle theme is the class that defines the name of your theme, or for example, options such as the background color, the button color, and many more. And you can, if you're in the code, you can see how your theme extends the puzzle theme, and it implements a variety of options. Important property of a theme is that each theme has a puzzle layout delegate, which computes the layout of this theme, and you can reuse the same layout delegates that we have already created from sample and dash themes. For example, if you decide to create a puzzle with the same layout as dash but just decide to replace dash images with your favorite pictures, you can do that by using the same layout delegate as dash but just replacing the images in the theme options. But if you want to go one step further and customize your layout delegate, then you need to create your own puzzle layout delegate and provide that any instance of this delegate to a property of your theme, which you can see in the code here. And the puzzle layout is implemented for desktop, mobile, and tablet screen size. So when you create your own layout delegate, you'll need to implement several sections of the puzzle. And here you can see three main sections which are in desktop layout. So
three layout starts title button. So that game
the start section on desktop layout is always going to be on the left of the screen. The void section is in the middle of the screen, and the end section is on the right of the screen. And this is slightly different for tablet and mobile layouts. So when you click on the start section of the layout, it will appear at the top of the puzzle. The void section will appear in the middle of the puzzle, and the end section will appear at the bottom of the puzzle. And so when you create your layout, you have to choose from a range of builders.
So he has these components that are probably yeah, so they're responsive and the position is dependent on the screen size. But it's based on each component or each section. So yeah, that's pretty
Section will appear at the bottom of the puzzle. And so when you create your layout, you have to choose from a range of builders. And the three that I just discussed, so start, section, void section, and section, they are corresponding builders in the layout. And this is a start section builder, a void builder, and end section builder. And there are also other builders. For example, if you want to specify how to build a single tile of the puzzle board, you need to use a tile builder. And if you want to specify how to build a white space or an empty tile of the puzzle, like a blank tile, you need to use a white space tile builder. And if you decide to change your background, you'll use the background builder. And here in the code snippet, you can see how you can implement the background. So this is a code snippet from the dashboard. And it receives the current state of the puzzle as an argument. And what it prints or renders is the dashboard theme picker on a large layout. A large layout is basically desktop layout in this case. So in the end, when your themes are ready, you can add to the puzzle page. I use a page containing all themes of the side puzzle. Currently, just single matter, but you can just append.
And I need to better understand blocks, but this is still good to know. So theme block, which is over here. So there's a theme block that's associated with a theme. So that's the toggle. And you're just adding that to the index of.
Add a new theme to the initial themes property of theme block, and right now your theme will be available from the menu, and you should be able to explore that in the app. So let's move to animations. And if you want to animate your puzzle, there are multiple ways you can do that. And I want to share with you how we implemented some of the animations in the sample. So when you
Okay, cool. So honestly, it's pretty amazing how much info they're getting. Uh, animation. I may add timestamps to help.
So let's move to animations.
1526. Animation. Um, set. Um, so I'll do animation. default. Okay. Sure, hold
And if you want to animate your puzzle, there are multiple ways you can do that. And I want to share with you how we implemented some of the animations in this sample. So when using implicit animations, you don't need to write the whole animation yourself. As long as you set a new value, an animated property, Flutter takes care of animating the property from the current value to a new value that you just set. So this is a very straightforward and easy to use solution for animations. And Flutter offers multiple implicitly animated widgets that you can choose from. For example, there's an animated scale, which animates the scale of the widget, or animated opacity, which will animate the opacity of the widget when the opacity property changes. There's an animated default text style, which will animate the text style of the send-on text widgets, or animate the line. And let's see that in practice, how we use it in the Flutter theme. So as an example here, take a look at the puzzle tile class. So here we have implemented the movement of the puzzle tile. So whenever a tile is tapped, what actually happens, its current position is going to be updated. And
Okay.
its current position is going to be updated, and it's going to be transitioned over the given movement duration thanks to this implicitly animated align widget. So how this works is the current position of the tile will change, and this will update the alignment property of animated
Current position dot x. Okay, so this is helpful for learning the alignment or animation. So I don't understand how that translates. I guess it's on a grid. Let me think. If you think of this as a 2D array, then x minus 1, y minus 1 will put you down.
align, forcing the whole widget to animate implicitly. And this is how we use implicitly animated widgets. For example, here, on the right, you can see animation. Because these animations, this is slightly more advanced. You need to use an animation control.
Okay.
For example, here, on the right, you can see animation. Because these animations, this is slightly more advanced. You need to use an animation controller, and these animations are controlled. They need to start and stop explicitly. And for example, you may use a forward and reverse function on the animation controller.
Okay. Start.
To move animation, and let's see that in practice. So, for example, here we have a scale animation, like a scale effect, when you hover over a puzzle tile, and how it's done is we create a controller, animation controller, with some duration, and then based on this controller, we can find the scale animation here inside the scale animation, which is a tween. That tween is basically a linear interpolation between two values. So in this case, we want the initial scale of the puzzle tile to be 1, and when the user hovers over the tile, we want the scale to be equal to 9.94. So what we do here is we just initialize the controller and initialize the animation. We don't start and stop it yet, and we also define that we want this animation to be non-linear. It's going to be a curved animation with this curve provided in the parameter. And when we go to the next slide, you can see that there's a mouse region, and this is when we are using the controller to animate the scale. So when your mouse or your pointer enters the region, it will forward the animation controller or reverse the animation controller in case it exits the region. And if you remember from the previous slide, the scale animation is dependent on this controller. So the scale transition widget here is going to be updated with the scale, and the icon button, as you can see on the video on the right, is going to have the scale effect.
Okay. Watch.
To be 1, and when the user hovers over the tile, we want the scale to be equal to 9.94. So what we do here is we just initialize the controller and initialize the animation. We don't start and stop it yet. And we also define that we want this animation to be non-linear. It's going to be a curved animation with this curve provided in the parameter. And when we go to the next slide, you can see that there is a mouse region, and this is when we are using the controller to animate the scale. So when your mouse or your pointer enters the region, it will forward the animation controller or reverse the animation controller in case it exits the region. And if you remember from the previous slide, the scale animation is
that's really cool. Okay, so that's really helpful. Okay, so timestamp 1930. This is going to be so helpful when I get stuck on stupid tiny details, being like, I can like to do.
This is slightly more advanced. You need to use an animation controller, and these animations are controlled. They need to be started and stopped explicitly. And for example, you may use a forward and reversion. For example, here we have a scale animation, like a scale effect, when you hover over a puzzle tile. And how it's done is we create a controller, animation controller, with some duration. And then based on this controller, we can define the scale animation here. We can define a scale animation, which is a twin.
Okay, I'm such an idiot. Okay, that's what he's talking about. So the tile, this defines that interaction. On the next page, this defines the condition of it. So, so like the scale is defined here, which is how when you hover your mouse over it, show you real quick. So, dash star. So let's start game. See how it hovers? That's going from 100% scale to 94% right there. So it's defined right here. Curve, ease in. So eaves in and out, it's like an arcing motion. Yeah, arrange. So it's slow, fast, slow. I think is how.
Example here done here and stop it yet. This curve provided. You can see that there is a mouse region.
So this is the action. Once you've defined action,
And this is when we are using the controller to animate the scale. So when your mouse or your pointer enters the region, it will forward the animation controller or reverse the animation controller in case it exits the region. And if you remember from the previous slide, the scale animation is dependent on this controller. So the scale transition with here is going to be updated with the scale and the icon button, as you can see on the video on the right.
okay, and that's so it's applying to the icon, I guess. That would be a tile. Um, I don't. Maybe there are a couple of, but the big thing is on enter you have controller forward, and then on exit you have controller reverse. So it does the animation. Does the animation, and then it reverses it. Does it reverse. If I drag it around, it's gonna do it on all of the Lego. So that's pretty cool thing. Just think about.
Is going to have the same effect. And usually, existing animations are used for repeat animations. So, for example, if you want to repeat animations for some amount of time, or for example, when multiple videos are animated in some sequence, which is the case for staggered animations, which are also used in the sample. And staggered animations are sequential or overlapping animations, which are driven by a single animation controller. And each of those animations is adjusted with interval to the animation in time. In hope.
When should we overlap? Dude, this is so helpful. Just did with interval.
Find the animation, and between you can find the range of values.
Out. Ugh. Next. Really.
Of a certain animation. And so here, in this example, this is the shared dialog of the Bachelor theme. This class, this is not a this is a class that holds all of the values. This holds values all animations for the dialog, and it basically initializes all values for animations, and then later this class will be used for in the dialog itself. But as you can see, here, the first animation, just score opacity, is defined to have values between 0 and 1 when the animation is happening, and the offset of social buttons changes from this offset to the offset of value 0. And as we want our animations to be sequential or overlapping, we can define this curve using curve animation. And what this means is that the first animation is going to happen between 0 and 0.6. And what it means is that, for example, when your animation takes 10 seconds, when your animation is 10 seconds long, then the first score opacity animation is going to take 6 seconds of animation. And then the offset animation is going to start after 4 seconds elapsed, right, till the end of the animation. So these animations are going to overlap, as you can see in the timeline here on the left. So having that class, we can move to creating a custom builder, which is like a utility for us, which is a wrapper around animated builder here. And it exposes all of those animations that we have just defined previously as a third argument here. So you can see that the builder, animated builder, by default has 2 parameters, the context and the child. And what we want to have is
Shared dialogue. Problem. That. Oh, maybe it's only on.
custom animated builder, which also exposes the animation, all animation properties here, which is going to be very helpful in the next step, in the first step, where this is the build method of the actual dialog. So now what we can do is we can put this animated builder here in the build method, and we will receive the animation as the third argument. And then based on the animation, we can create multiple widgets and just pass the animation properties to all the widgets. For example, score opacity animation is going to change the opacity of the square, and the social button offset is going to be the position of the slide transition in this case. So what is the effect of such animation? So it's something like this. When the dialog appears, you can see multiple widgets appear eventually with some delay. And I think this is a clean and elegant way to achieve staggered animations in Flutter. So next slide. So the puzzle was built for 3 screen sizes, small, medium, and large, which is supposed to be mobile, tablet, and desktop layouts.
Okay, so all of that. That's gonna be because I see what he's saying. This slides, this slides in, this slides, this slides. That's kind of this clean. 435. Okay.
when the dialog appears, you can see multiple widgets appear eventually with some delay. And I think this is a clean and elegant way to achieve staggered animations in Flutter. So next slide. So the puzzle was built for three screen sizes: small, medium, and large, which is supposed to be mobile, tablet, and desktop layouts.
Like, this is so cool. How often do you get someone who's written an entire program that they're trying to learn from sit down and walk step by step? It's a really cool thing to have.
And we have created some utilities for you to help with responsive layouts. So the first utility is responsive layout builder, which basically is the buffer around a layout builder widget, Flutter widget, which allows you to specify different widgets based on the screen size. So for example, here, a small widget will be rendered on small layout, which is mobile. A medium widget will be rendered on medium layout, and a large widget on large layout. And similarly, you can use responsive gap widget, which defines a different gap we're having on different screen size. And you may also want to.
Okay, so
Speed up loading your assets in the app
I've done
to
layout.
optimize like the overall performance during the game. And in sample, this is done using the pre-cache image function for image assets and HTTP get for audio assets. And HTTP get basically relies on the browser caching mechanism. And we are using that functions when the app is loading. So whenever you go to the data screen and start the game, all of the assets should have already been downloaded. So it should be a smooth experience when you're starting the game. So the slide puzzle was also built with accessibility in mind, and you may interact with the puzzle using keyboard or a screen reader. And if you're using the sample, actually you don't have to implement keyboard interactions, as it's already implemented using Pro keyboard listener. But if you want to make your version accessible with screen readers, you need to consider adding semantic labels and tooltips to improve accessibility. So here in the code snippet, you can see how you can add it.
So it works with keys. That's so cool. Okay, I've got to parse this. And I'm probably gonna end up doing it myself because I want to understand everything. Like all the considerations that this guy has done. So let's really get each minute.
As semantic label for an image, or how you can create a tooltip, which displays some message over a button or some other action. And that's it for me. Thanks for watching, and I guess I wish you happy coding with your own slide puzzle.
Thank you very much. Let's get everyone back on. There we go. That is awesome. Actually, I'm going to bring up on stream. Let's see if we can do this. Actually, someone say where can I get the code from? So let me give you guys.
Actually, we just put that link in YouTube.
Ah, there you go.
Yeah, I'm at it. No, and sorry about that, folks. The first link that went up was to the directory, and that allows you to play the puzzle. But if you want the source code, you have to go to the HTML page. But it's the last thing the Flutter community said on YouTube. So anyway, just out of curiosity, since people are going to be trying to do this in their off time, as a Flutter developer has off time these days, Bart, about how long did that take you?
It actually took about like 1.5 months to develop the whole thing. I think it's mostly because we have tried very hard to make the architecture look nicely.
How long did he?
But it's the last thing the Flutter community said in YouTube. So anyway, just out of curiosity, since people are going to be trying to do this in their off time, as if a Flutter developer has off time these days, Bart, about how long did that take you?
It actually took about like 1.5 months to develop the whole thing, but I think it's mostly
1.5 months. Okay. but this guy really made the rest of it. He spent 1.5. Thank you, Bart.
Because we have tried very hard to make the architecture look nicely and be very like accessible for users to extend, like add a new theme.
Wait, you mean you had it running in like 45 minutes and then spent a month refactoring? That sounds like a normal day at work.
No, we started from scratch.
Should we have a go? This is fine. Should we get a go? This is
Why
going
are
to
you doing dash? You don't need to be doing dash. Come on. It's someday.
Right. Anyway, so let's get questions in. Let's put it in the chat, and I'm sure Scott's going to go back through. Any questions about how you make a challenge, what to do? You had the slides now, so we kind of like understand a bit more about the code base and how you can update the puzzle to do the whole thing.
Well, while I'm digging up numbers, let's see if Simon's half as good at playing this game as he would be at coding it.
Oh, yeah.
I would bet no. What do you think, Kelvin?
This is not.
I haven't seen Simon actually beat this yet, so I'll pick up this now.
Oh.
Hey, should we have only numbers, or can anything be used instead of numbers? Well, we're using a dash card right now. You can't use anything. As far as I know, it doesn't have to be Flutter theme, does it, Kelvin?
No, it doesn't have to be 14, it could be whatever theme you want it to be. So.
Let's see here. Not a question, but always important to have. Right, Julie? Let's see here. My Spanish is not up to that, unfortunately. Let's see here. Lots of discussion.
That's good.
Let's see.
I haven't solved this matter yet, to be honest.
That's all we know from first class.
Oh,
You know, we just ruined our run. Oh goodness, what was I just thinking there?
Go, you get this up. Get the price of the tank.
You know, we can't go a single time without showing Ruben's comment there, because let me see here. It's block of state management technique.
I think the people on the conversation say yes.
Yeah, quite possibly. The guy who wrote it, Felix, is here in the chat. Maybe one of these days we can get him to come on the stream and talk about that. But Bart, I think you know Felix, don't you? Would you
yeah.
say state management technique?
I feel like Felix would say this is the management technique.
I will get that down. Hang on a second.
Simon, you're getting close.
I think it's an illusion.
Yeah,
Maybe I'm going to mess up the center, so, you know, like,
Oh, well, that's close.
close but not close enough.
Yeah, staggered animations. There are some YouTube videos on it that are really good. It will allow you to do things such as move the container, change its shape, send it across the across diagonally. You can put different curves on it, different acceleration, all kinds of crazy things. So definitely look up staggered animations. You can have a lot of fun with those, really. How creative can we get? Kelvin, that sounds like one for you.
You can, as creative as you are, essentially. We want to see what you kind of come up with. We don't want to put, so these projects are literally just starting blocks, and to make sure that even if you're not a Flutter developer and you're learning Flutter for the first time, that you can get started really quickly. But you can take it as far and as kind of in any direction that you want to. So don't limit yourself to Flutter theming or squares or anything like that.
This one's for Bart, and in all fairness, just to mention again that a big part of the reason Bart spent so much time on this is that he wanted to make sure that he wrote it in a way people could understand. So the beginners could understand, that is. Bart, how long have you been using Flutter?
So actually, I've been familiar with like mobile development for about 3 or 4 years, and I've been working with React Native, which is kind of similar in a sense. But with Flutter, I've been working since February, so it's almost a year now. Yeah, I feel great working in Flutter so far.
Yeah, and you've been using Flutter about a year, and you're working professionally every day in Flutter now, right?
Yeah, from February, yeah.
Very cool. So can we do this if we're a beginner? Want to see why not? Sure.
Go for it, please.
Yeah. You can start by exploring the simple theme, which is what's simple, I would say. The implementation is somewhat complex.
Simple challenge, yeah.
See, now a lot of the very well-known people in Flutter are probably disqualified from getting that MacBook, so your chances might be better than you think. You're not going to be competing with the top names in Flutter. It's we're kind of like not allowed. Let's see here. I think Simon would agree with you.
That
The implementation is somewhat complex.
Simple challenge, yeah.
See, now a lot of the very well-known people in Flutter
36.
So what's simple, I would say. The implementation is somewhat complex.
Simple challenge, yeah.
$36.14.
See, now a lot of the very well-known people in Flutter are probably disqualified from getting that MacBook, so your chances might be better than you think. You're not going to be competing with the top names in Flutter. It's we're kind of like not allowed. Let's see here. I think Simon would agree with you.
What's that?
Yep. And actually, somebody's giving me a tip here. You can move more than a tile.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what I hear out of him every time I point out he's missing a comma when we're working on a piece of code. Yeah. Is it okay to do things that not an image or a sorted number?
Yes, 100%. Please do it. I'd love to see it.
The only other thing I can think of is text. Maybe write out a story. That could be interesting.
I'm excited. Why now?
By the way, I'm not sure if this is David or who this is that's running your face in this time. But you see this over here?
I'm not getting anything out.
A couple people on the team have already solved it.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Oh, gosh.
Ian, the platform on this is aimed at web primarily, I believe.
Yes, that's true. So primarily we're targeting web with this project, but there is a prize actually for projects that also work on mobile devices and on desktop in addition to web.
Okay, so the other. focus web, but
So, hey, Dom. Somebody else we've got to get here on the show again. It's good to see you. Is there an initial alignment that cannot be solved? I don't believe any of these can be solved. It just takes the right number of years of clicking the way Simon's clicking right now.
I mean, there's
There's
a
a-
condition if you're using to check when you're shuffling the puzzle for the first time. You're checking if the puzzle is actually solvable first.
Oh crap! That's, oh no.
No, Simon.
That's not what I wanted.
Here's an interesting one. Now, there's, you know what? I almost shouldn't have put this up there, Isis, because but you did put it in YouTube. So you should have kept that one to yourself. You might have won right off the bat. That's pretty cool. So yeah, custom one where the user uploads their own image.
so that was one of my original ideas. Upload their own image, breaks it apart.
That would be really cool.
If other people already had the
Is it too difficult for beginners to start with? Actually, once you get into it and get used to reading that a little bit, you'd be surprised at how simple it is. Most of the difficult stuff is handled for you by what's called intrinsic animations. So you just call the animation that does its thing. You don't actually have to build it yourself. And yeah, I mean, anytime you look at something in Flutter that is not familiar, it can seem a little bit difficult. But crawl around the code for about an hour, hour and a half, and all of a sudden a lot of things will start to make more sense. Oh no, Craig, welcome back.
he said crawl.
Normally you're the one who's getting your face covered on the stream, Craig. Can I use provider instead of block? Absolutely. No, you don't even have to use a package. So if you really want to understand how Flutter works a bit better, try looking into something called find ancestors, particularly find ancestor state type, and if you have a state object. Can I use provider instead of block? Absolutely. You know, you don't even have to use a package. So if you really want to understand how Flutter works a bit better, try looking into something called find ancestors, particularly find ancestor state of type, and if you have a state object at the top of the tree that contains instances of your models, you can fetch them that way. Some other people don't like to use state management packages; they like to use animated builders as the being triggered on change. And you can also use value notifiers. So let's see. Can we add auth for making it multiplayer? Yes, I can see the aggravation with that.
You can, imagine if you see the other player fixing the puzzles you're doing it, right? So there's always like a.
You watch one square go back and forth, back and forth.
And then if you calculate how close they are
One square.
to the puzzles you're doing it, right? So there's always like a.
You watch one square go back and forth, back and forth.
And then if you calculate how close they are to completion, you like speed up some music.
There you go.
Yeah, it could be a race to the finish.
Something
There you go. Make it like a tick.
So you go for it. No, I'll try to get it on the stream. No, wait.
Actually, Ali, Simon is living proof. It's easier to build it than it is to solve.
So when I try to compete on the challenge.
Right, I wasn't expecting it. We can do this. Come on, team.
He says, if I can't even solve the puzzle, would I try to complete on the challenge? I feel too dumb and frustrated. You know what? Simon's sitting here on a stream that's going to be viewed by thousands of people. How do you think he feels right now?
Fine. Thanks for asking.
How much can we twist the idea of a slide puzzle game? I'm not quite sure what you mean by that one, Ian.
Like how far can you push it away from being a slide puzzle, right?
Ideally, at the end of the day, it's still a slide puzzle. So no like word searches or jigsaw puzzles or anything like that. As long as it is a slide puzzle, the logic is underlying logic is generally the same, follows the same rules. Your project will be eligible.
Let's see here. Simon, Dom's being mean to you again. He wants to solve 1,024 moves. Hey, there you go.
And I get to share on Twitter.
Hey, Dom, did you count those? Was it 1,025?
I think it was 900 something.
Let's 1,000, yeah.
Oh, okay, so they count. Gotcha. Let's see here. Can we change the logic to make it more challenging?
I think that could. Yeah, I don't know. It'd be interesting as long as it's it comes down to like how fun it is to play and how fun it is to look at. I think at the end of the day. So I think that's what we're kind of looking for. And yes.
And, yeah. Not only is it available, where'd it go?
So don't forget we are going to once we'll be answering your general Flutter questions, so get them in the chat.
I just had to adjust a link here. Let me make sure that it works before we go putting it up on the stream. Nope.
There we go. Let's tweet that out.
And here you go, William.
I should just like it's just like live on stream. I can do this live on stream. Right. That was. It would have been really bad if I couldn't get it solved, but I did. So that's okay.
You did. That's easy again.
Okay, and here we go with another one of those questions that we get all the time: SEO for web. The first thing to know about SEO for web, okay, really the very first thing to remember. When you ask that question, it makes it pretty clear that you're thinking that that Flutter's going to be the whole web page or the whole website, and you need to do SEO for it. Flutter's best used as a web app. Okay, it's not really meant to be a whole website. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. I mean, I can save 50% and get double miles if I buy 3-day-old sushi. It doesn't mean I'm going to do it, and it doesn't mean it's a good idea.
I think what I did the other day, you can just dart what's with Dart HTML package, so you can just go do an HTML, CSS, and Dart website instead of JavaScript, right? So you wouldn't take advantage of fast widget system, but you can still build a website and dynamically load JSON and do all that kind of fun stuff and images and all sorts. So yeah, it's really
There you go.
I'll just
Sure.
I'll tell you what, though. No, it's in all seriousness. That would be an impressive piece of logic to write.
Yeah,
An impressive piece of problem-solving logic, and I think that might score you some good points.
Doesn't that come with the traffic salesman problem? That's like really difficult.
Yeah, that's.
Like it's like chess, right? You get the infinite puzzle.
Um, that's a cool idea.
I'm still digging up some more questions here. There's a lot of conversation on YouTube, so I'll tell you what, Simon, why don't you explain the traveling salesman problem, which is actually a
No,
graph problem, isn't it?
don't. It's been,
Come
it's been
on.
decades since I even looked at it. I could just go Google Wikipedia page.
It's a graph problem from your nightmares.
Yeah, I mean, it is that type of problem. I'm not sure if it is that problem specifically, but I don't think A-star algorithms would even. You could probably do an A-star, like an A-star algorithm to fix it, to solve it as well, actually.
So, Kelvin,
Yeah.
using the sample as a start, make changes and add different stuff, and then resubmit it.
100%.
I mean, yeah, it's perfectly fine. Yeah, the sample as a start.
Yeah.
But make sure you actually change some stuff more than, like the colors.
Exactly. I mean, you're going to have a chance of winning if it's, it's exactly the same solver. Is that zero? You haven't got anything out of that, right?
So I'll tell you what, Julia has a good idea here. Hints would be good, but of course Dom has to try and come over top of everybody because autosolve would be dope.
Oh, I just got to follow this up with where is it? Craig's message here. There you go. So at least constrain the backtracking algorithms.
That's a good point. I mean, with backtracking at that point, just I guess it wouldn't be that bad. It'd be a lot.
Inspiration from Sudoku solvers. So yeah, he's already on the way to doing his own implementation right now.
Oh my. Somebody brought up testing. VGV's gonna love you, Danny. They're just gonna love you. What is the puzzle challenge story? There's a story, Kelvin?
I don't believe so.
I think maybe it's what is. If you missed the beginning of the stream, go back to the stream. We can talk about what it is, and I'll just throw this up on this upstream. Is it sign up? Sign up. There's a link in the description, and you have a chance to win $50,000 worth of prizes. So go sign up. Website below.
Now, I'm gonna have a little bit of fun with this, Julia. Okay. Yes, you have to be able to solve the puzzle 100%. No, we get it. Actually, I'm not sure test coverage is that even part of the judging criteria, Kelvin.
It's not in the rules, and I don't think it's something that we consider a ton. Again, we're really looking at, is it playable, is it winnable, and is it like how fun is it to actually interact with?
Playable.
Creative is something with challenge.
Right. So as long as it works, and you're using it from jumbled slide puzzle to finished product, there's a we're not trying to get super deep into magic.
Have you guys heard of magic calculator apps where you can basically say I enter a number, you just keep asking people for that date or the size or whatever it is, and you press equals at the end, it's their telephone number or something. Like, oh my god, how do you do that? And it's a fake calculator. It's a fake calculator that always shows a chosen number at the very end. It doesn't add up to that at all, the numbers that it shows. I kind of can see someone like doing that. Doing something where you click on certain spots and it like jumbles it, and it's jumbled in such a way that you can click in a certain pattern to solve it. So it kind of makes sense.
So, okay.
We solved in 7 moves.
We just covered that one. But another thing, I mean, testing is a best practice, which leads us over here to making sure the sample is an example of best practices. Right, Dom? I'm sorry. Sorry, Bucket.
Yeah, of course. So this sample is actually how we develop most of our apps, and so it's a bit more simple because there's no, for example, there's no external API layer. There's just the block and the UI layer in this case. But yeah, all the tests are written like in the same way, but we are writing in production apps, and blocks are in the same way, and UI, yeah, also the same.
Nice.
Does it need to be in a public GitHub? I suppose the other will be private.
Yeah, so you have to submit the source code as part of the submission. It doesn't have to
Can
be
you submit
GitHub,
it
though.
to a private repo?
There are other ways of posting your code online. As long as the code is accessible to the competition judges, then yeah.
So, I've got a question for this question. What's the best way to handle responsive text size? Rona has an app that needs to look good on mobile all the way up to desktop. And my question, Rona, is why haven't you swung by the meeting we have to come say hi and ask this question? Because we haven't seen you, you don't call, you don't write. Simon's been worried sick about you.
So that's an interesting one. I mean, the thing is, ideally you don't want to adjust the text scale factor because that's an accessibility feature. However, if you want to adjust your text size across the app, you could cheat and use that feature. To be honest, I think it's more about just applying different themes. So based on your above the material app, you can do a layout builder. I wouldn't recommend that one per se, but there's or media query, work out what your breakpoints are, and then choose a different base font size to apply to your.
I just say
to come say hi and ask this question, but about you.
So that's an interesting one. I mean, the thing is, ideally you don't want to adjust text scale factor because that's accessibility feature. How would you want to adjust text across the app? You could cheat and use that feature. To be honest, I think it's more about just applying different themes. So based on your above the material app, you can label it. I wouldn't recommend that one per se, but there's more media grid, work out what the breakpoints are, and choose a different base font size to apply to your theme. So that the entire app changes with the breakpoints. I'm not sure I would find that useful. Text only scales with the density of the screen, so that you're sure that you can it's legible and also remains more or less the same physical size. This means that on a large screen you have more information available to you to fill the screen rather than large text take up all the room. And it doesn't look weird. It's the same thing when you take a phone app, but a tablet, it's just bigger, you're blown up, and it's like, well, that's not a great user experience. Well, that's right then.
I have a little dash in my ear over here. One second.
Yeah.
And Dash is telling me that Kelvin has another meeting to go to.
Yeah, I got hop off. But thanks everyone for tuning in. Thanks everyone for participating in the challenge. Super excited. I can't wait to see what twists folks come up with and what kind of creative solutions do come through. And when you do actually beat it, so I encourage everyone to do the hash puzzle when you beat it. Share your score essentially on Twitter. Get your friends and family to try that as well.
And we'll say join next week for more Flutter puzzle
Yes, I've got 3 more weeks going over this as things progress. And speaking of progressing, Kelvin, you had mentioned before something about the FAQ evolving and progressing. Yeah, so we've received a lot of questions about puzzle hacks specifically. Do I have to build a puzzle, or maybe I'm an excluded country in project? So expect a frequently asked questions update to be applied to the contest page again for hack.epos.com, where we'll answer a lot of those questions that are coming in quite a bit.
Right. Okay. Well,
okay.
Hey, how you doing? So tactical, just to give you a little context. There is a $50,000 prize for a Flutter hackathon. And so what I'm doing right now, I just found out about it, going all of content that Flutter has put out. And I'm just trying to get as much information for every just possible. So filing list of all the features, all the tips and tricks that they mention on the video. I've timestamped. I'll probably throw it as a comment once I'm done, but I'm kind of trying to get as many advantages as possible and really understand the hard.
thanks for coming.
Thanks everyone.
Thanks.
We have an interesting point, though. I think this might be applying toward auto solving.
Yeah, I was just picking out. This is the thing, right?
Big O 4x4.
Like it's a really complex problem, that kind of solving.
Big O, folks know that Big O is how Big O is basically how efficient something is. It's more complicated than that. But anyway, the joke is that if you try and plug that in your computer, it's going to catch on fire. So let's see here. We have a continuation from last week from Alan. So we were discussing custom scroll view instead of single child scroll view and shrink wrap.
Yeah. Okay.
Couldn't join last Q&A, but watched later. Using custom scroll view.
Oh, yeah. Well, okay, I'm not gonna. There's actually a great Craig who's in the chat did a great Flutter video, I think, on this. I think it was one of the Decode Flutter ones.
So Craig, could you well, if you can't post the link to Twitter
right now, try and find the link to me. I'm sure.
Shoot it to us in Slack, Craig, because I don't think it's going to let you post it to Twitter.
Right, you know what? It's going to be really awkward when I find out it was the other guy said lots of emails or something like that. I'm pretty sure. I'm just having to quickly look around, but basically,
it was Felix, did you?
No. Oh, here we go. Shrink wrap versus slivers. Decode Flutter. Found it. I'll put it in the chat for everyone. Sorry, Alan, there you go. I mean, we can explain on screen. Honestly, the video does such a great job. Craig, awesome job. Hands in the air.
From the man who did that video in the link. So it's worth noting if you.
Yeah.
Only have a small number of children, shrink wrap's not going to be bad. But lots of children.
Yeah, I mean, the thing here is like if your number of children is going to cover the screen, then that's fine. But if you do more than like 1.5 screen height, well, then you're not going to be recycling. They're going to be constructing saving memory that you want. So start going into hundreds and thousands. I mean, you just made 100,000 widgets all at once with shrink wrap. Because you have to basically create multi the height of inside thing.
So basically, you just killed your lazy loading. Let's see here. Okay, we have some spam.
They're going to be
but lots of children.
The other guy said lots of emails, something like that.
Dude, all these tips are just so
View instead of single child scroll view and shrink wrap.
That's fine. But if you do more than like 1.5 screen height, well, then you're not going to be recycling. They're going to be constructing and reconstructing saving memory that you want. So start going into hundreds and thousands. I mean, you just made 100,000 widgets all at once with shrink wrap. Because you have to basically create multi the height of inside thing.
So basically, you just killed your lazy loading. Let's see here. Okay, we have some spamming going on. Shantosh, you have put your question in 3 times, and I can see all 3 of them without scrolling. That's what we mean by please don't spam.
Okay,
Let's see here. Multiplayer online. We were kind of joking about that earlier.
Yeah.
The joking actually goes back to I don't know if you remember Jay, Jay who did the Rocket app, and he's done a number of other things with us. He was doing the Rocket app. What was that for? 30 Days of Flutter?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
So many events.
So it's actually in the YouTube channel. You'll find the videos for it.
Was 30. Oh, this is so cool. When is this? It was so long ago, but maybe you can still steal the prompt.
Well, Jay, Nash, and I were all playing around one day with VS Code's sharing feature. And the reason that I kind of say this is a bit of a joke tech is I would type something, and then Nash would type something over it, and then Jay would type something, and then I would delete what Jay was, and it just turned into this mess. So I can see people trying to solve this. They move a tile expecting that they're going to go 1, 2, and then person moves 1, the other person moves 1 down, or tiles going back and forth.
Or a race, like who's the first one to solve, like 2 puzzles, right? 2 puzzles.
There you go. Each person gets their own puzzle.
Yeah.
So let's see here.
Just to mention that there is plenty. Any further question that you want to ask, grab that.
And yeah, I mean, you know, considering that the sample puzzle gave Simon that much of a hard time, I'm not sure if the kids versus adults thing is
Wait, the simple challenge, not the animated one. Or there's no reason you could like reduce it down to like 3 by 3 instead of 4 by 4, right? That's a huge difference in complexity.
I'll take if we could get a volunteer from the chat. We need an adult to solve it, and then compare that to how Simon did it.
Oh, no kid. Yeah.
We can have more blank tiles instead of just one.
Yes.
Oh, actual blank tiles.
Yeah.
No, that's the question. If we get stuck, can we ask in Slack? Absolutely. That's what it's there for.
See if there's like a Discord. Gosh, they want you to succeed so bad. Look at all this documentation. Dude, I'm gonna.
And what's that saying that you've got, Simon? If you are coding in one window and don't have the docs open in another, then you're doing it wrong?
Yeah, pretty much.
Let's see. Are you...
So that's a Resident Evil 1 project. I'll share a little bit. Why not? We're here, and why not? See if I can get this to open. So I've been there you go. So this is the main entrance hallway from the original Resident Evil 1 game. This is actually extracted from the original PlayStation 1 data. The original PlayStation 1 doesn't have 3D data because the backgrounds are actually 2D. And what you're actually seeing here, if I adjust things slightly, the yellow blocks are all the cameras. I literally made a little exporter for data. Now all I could do is cubes and cylinders. So that's all you got, and planes. I need to add cones in or something. But anyway, and then these are the light sources. So they have the positional information and the camera information, and then a 2D collision matrix, which is the rest of this sort of top down. And this is how the original game would know how to project the 3D characters on top of the 2D background. And that's basically the information I'm going to be using to do the same thing in Flutter. So the eventual idea would be to walk around the entire Resident Evil 1 game in Flutter with the original characters, go from room to room, using the original data from the original disk. Well, just because. So yeah, there's I'll explain it. I'm going to do a write-up. So I'll be doing an explanation write-up about how the original software works, how we're doing it in Flutter, and then that'll be probably going into the Flutter Vikings as I talk for Flutter Vikings. So yeah, I need to condense it down though because it's a big beast. It's a big beast. Characters go from room to room using the original data from the original disk. Well, just because. So yeah, there's an explanation write up about how the original software works, how we're doing it in Flutter, and then that'll be probably going into the Flutter Vikings as my talk for Flutter Vikings.
Flutter Vikings. Biggest Nordic Flutter conference. Let's go. Oh, that's so cool. The latest. Okay. I'm gonna take 3 on the ticket. Um, I'll do. I'll just.
So yeah, I need to condense it down though because it's a big beast. It's a big beast. Since we're here and we're sharing, I just explain how much of a deal this is, and see if I can
Hold on.
load something else open. This is either going to go terribly well. Terribly badly.
You know,
Go on.
while we're
Carry on with
waiting,
questions.
continuing using a future builder with a shrink wrap. Circular animation displayed before the list is ready, or does it need the list to compute the height? It's going to need the list to compute the height, but that's an interesting question, because if you're using the future builder and you're waiting to, and you create your page when the snapshot has data, depending upon how much this height needs to be created, you may go from the circular progress indicator on connections not finished, and then snapshot has data, and you may try to render the page, but it take a little while for the layout builder to finish that up. So that could be interesting. Interesting little bug there. But yeah, I mean, if the data you get back is long enough that it's going to be a chore to compute the height, you probably want to use lazy loading at that point, I would think. Hey, Pedro. Is adding a scoreboard a good idea?
Sounds like a great idea.
Yeah, I don't think it's a bad idea. Adds performance problem. That's very much like, please help me with my bug. We have no idea what the problem is that you haven't described the problem. We can't see code. Really, the thing that you want to do with this is to take something like this over to the Google group, Flutter Dev Google group, not Flutter, not the Flutter Google group, sorry, the Flutter Dev Google group, and they'll be able to help you with that. There are a number of the team members who frequent that one.
So you can raise an issue in the repo as well and get onto that way.
Well, but make sure it's an actual issue with the SDK first. Let's see here. We're talking about two people getting separate versions of the puzzle and try solving it in a competitive mode.
Yeah.
There you go.
Everyone's having the same.
Bart, here you go.
Oh yeah, I've just seen that one. That's true.
Read Oscar.
Actually, I think what they need is an extra blank. Adding an extra blank makes it very easy to switch between tile IJ and to tile JI. But it will remove a lot of the fun from the puzzle.
Right.
Okay.
Sorry, great. Fix it.
This one's a little interesting where every package has its own strings. I mean, if you're going to try and... That almost sounds like you want to do a...
I'm not sure what the question is here.
Yeah, are you not quite sure?
And if you have multiple packages back up your Flutter and you're trying to localize, well, they have a separate package that has all the localization for everything. That's why they're doing that. Or
When we say separate packages, it's like maybe you have one package for mobile and one for desktop and one for web.
I mean, just have a package for everyone. I mean, like, you can break up your app into multiple Dart packages, right? But yeah, just have one package for all your localization. That's one mechanism. One way of doing this is like a mono repo, so it's all checked at the same time. Another mechanism you could use. I mean, they all can get the current localization, right? So
Okay, feature packages, login, payment.
yes, as I said, just have one package for your localization. If you want to keep the localization to each individual
Right.
Adding an extra blank. That almost sounds like you want to do a...
I'm not sure what the question is here.
Yeah, are you
But
not
if,
sure?
and if you have multiple packages that make up your Flutter app and you're trying to localize, well, then have a separate package that has all the localization for everything. That's one way of doing that. Or
And when we say separate packages, it's like maybe you have one package for mobile and one for desktop and one for web.
I mean, just have a package for everyone. I mean, like, you can break up your app into multiple Dart packages, right? But yeah, just have one package for all your localization. That's one mechanism. One way of doing this is like a mono repo, so it's all checked at the same time. Another mechanism you could use. I mean, they all can get the current localization, right? So
Okay, feature packages, login, payment.
yes, as I said, just have one package for your localization. If you want to keep the localization to each individual module, so it doesn't depend on the external thing, then yeah, you're going to be adding localization to each module. But it doesn't mean you can't do that. So there's a widget called localization, which can override your provided localizations for any subtree of Flutter. This is how Material App does it. It just provides a localization.
Now this one, I understand part of it. Maybe not the other. Maybe the second part says maybe connect the Android device directly instead of using the emulator. We actually do that all the time.
What the question is, can one use Flutter with dual-threaded CPU? It works perfectly fine with dual-threaded CPU. So yes,
right,
it
it's
does
going to
that.
run single-threaded though.
No, it doesn't. You have 4 threads. You have 4 or 5 threads, and it'll spawn a few other threads. So the engine's built with the main dot thread. That's the main dot isolate. Then you have a rendering thread. There's
well, but these are isolates,
thread.
and the funny thing about isolates is you can't control which CPU they're spawned on. So sometimes it's multi-threaded.
Yes, you can make multiple isolates and take full advantage if you want to. In the dot side of things, but in general, it's going to use multiple threads. So like, you don't get like a slowdown of your app because you've got single thread CPU. It doesn't work.
Well, we want to be careful with that because people have always said since the beginning that Flutter was single-threaded using isolates, and then Philip came out with that one piece pointing out that yes, we spawn new isolates, but there's a very good chance they could end up on a different core, and you don't really have the ability to predict that as far as I know. So that kind of blew out the whole single-threaded and only using isolates discussion.
Yeah, the point here is that the might be running single thread, main thread, right? But it's taking full Flutter. It's taking full advantage of multiple threads. So like all the rendering else is different threads.
Oh, you're talking about C++ layers.
Yeah, so take advantage of the fact you've got multi-thread CPU, right? And you take advantage of the hardware. The point of having a single isolate with all the main code is more about the fact that it actually solves a lot of problems, right? And for most parts, you don't actually need to have multi-threads. But if you do need to have multi-threads, do computational games per frame, then use an isolate. That's what's there for. You can do that. So it's not a problem at all.
If you don't target web, could you have a chance to win? It kind of features web. That's
Yeah.
what you're looking for.
I think the idea is that you host an example easily online.
Yeah, that should be like a device for the website as far as I know.
Yeah. So I think what you could do is make your puzzle work on desktop and mobile, whatever it might be. Do something extra fancy there and show that off in your, explain that in your entrance, but you still run on web. So you can actually inside of that app, use additional imports. I think it's the name for them. Basically, where you can say if it's running web, use this one. If it's running mobile, use that one. You can tell off functionality of that. There's various ways of doing that. There's also a global flag K is web. I'll put that in the comments here. And that tells you if you're running on Flutter web or not.
Okay. Also, real quick, the computer using is weak. This was throwing back to the can use an actual Android device. In that case, when people do have a weaker computer trying to run the emulator at the same time, it's kind of hard on it. So yeah, just plug in your device.
Yeah, so this is you compile for desktop and then you don't need an emulator, so you can save a lot of your machine power and still run it on your computer. So this is why it's desktop.
Why don't you show off this pre-picture? And I got to step out for a second. I will be back in just a moment.
Keep the question coming if you want to stick around. I was just going to show this. This is that same scene that we just saw of the 3D. This is the pre-rendered background that I extracted from the original game. This is 320 by 240, so pretty low res. And if you look at the squares of grey and yellow, this is my decoder. I'm still working on the color space decoding, and there's also banding happening. So you can see some of the banding that's happening on the colors. I extracted all within dots. It's all within dot. It's quite nice. It's quite cool. So this is some original camera shots, but yeah, there's definitely work to be done on cleaning up the color bleeds. You see on the carpet, the color bleeds between the two. This is because it uses a compression mechanism version of JPEG. It's not JPEG, nor near JPEG really, but yeah, it's already been done. This is all been extracted from the original game information.
So you're basically extracting models from features like of the game.
So the game provides. So this have you tried the game?
Not really.
No, that's fine. So this thing here, the player will be third person walking through. The camera's fixed, but the player moves around the scenes. The problem here is that this is an image. Now, the PlayStation didn't have enough CPU horsepower to render these nice actions. It would be very plain and basic, and couldn't get that detail they wanted in the game. The realism to make it a action horror genre game. They actually invented the sort of genre of this kind of idea. And so you want the camera, you have to move around this corridor. This is actually the other side of the corridor. And so you leave this point here, it enters this point here.
Okay.
Does that make sense? But the point here is that this is 2D images painted in the background, 3D models painted on top. And when it reaches this edge, it actually gets skewed by the edge. There's a masking system happening. I won't bore you with detail right now. But it means that you actually feel like you're actually playing the game in this 3D environment, but actually it's fake, right? It's completely several games have done this. It's a 2D 3D mix to achieve what the something that the platform couldn't produce at the time. I've always found it when I was a kid playing, I was trying to intriguing with the mechanism that used to do that. So I've been experimenting with the engine. But for example, I'll give this little scene as an example. You walk around and if the player moves up to this edge here, it can't walk over these picture frames. So there's actually they provide a collision boundary. And that's based out of boxes and cylinders essentially. So this is a cylinder, there's probably a cylinder here and cylinder here. So as the player moves up, you just have the collision section on AADB squares and circle collision text to push the player out of those areas so they can't enter and overlap onto the background. Until you play the game, you probably can't comprehend that. But it's quite an interesting idea. And there's also like 3D objects in the game. You can see always the camera angles. You have zombies within the corridors and you have to like shoot them or push them off and all this stuff. But it's puzzles, there's all sorts. It's kind of like I think a more modern game that's the style. So take a step back. I'll see if I can find. So I'm gonna I've got one here. I'm actually someone online has been doing a upscale project. So let's see if I can. I'm gonna see if I can get this open. Let's reshare.
Okay. And for a moment here, we've got another of our very common questions back. It's the second time this stream. SEO for web. Again, Mustafa, remember, don't use Flutter for a website. So that's the first thing. It should be used for web apps. The other thing is, what would you do if you were using JavaScript? Because Flutter does end up compiling to JavaScript for web. However you handle it that way, handle it the same way. So, and actually, the SEO does take a look at the render text. And you also do want to make sure that you use your semantic text for accessibility, because it will look at that as well. That's a big part of it, too. Let's see. Here's an interesting one, Simon. You might want to pause and actually read this. It's a shadows and performance question.
Go on.
Having simple box shadows on widgets quickly drops the frame rate when you scroll. They replace them with physical model shadows, but they don't always like the way it looks. Any thoughts?
The physical model shadow is elevation. There's a way of doing shadows all the way. I don't know if it's on web. It depends on the platform. They've done pretty good optimizing shadow rendering. If you use shadows, I've not seen. I mean, it might be a web thing, but yeah.
I'm going to pause and actually read this. It's a shadows and performance question.
Go on.
Having simple box shadows on widgets quickly drops the frame rate when you scroll. They replace them with physical model shadows, but they don't always like the way it looks. Any thoughts?
The physical model shadow is elevation. There's a way of doing shadows all the way. I don't know if it's on web. It depends on the platform. They've done pretty good optimizing shadow rendering. If you use shadows, I've not seen. I mean, it might be a web thing, but yeah, on the system, the physical models are used for material elevation, and that's a different rendering path, which is heavily optimized for those particular use cases. So yeah, you don't get performance elevation, you don't drop frames or anything. I would say why are you using that many overlapping? Like something you can actually do, which might cause you a problem is the reason why you probably get performance with physical model is nothing to do with the shadows being rendered, but more about the fact that physical model is a layer. So the render system specifically delays it won't render what's a layer less needs to. So the composition will just basically the shadows will be composed together. They won't be re rendered together. That makes repainted together. So what you can actually do is place a material widget with its type set to transparency. That's one way of getting a layer. Another one is use a repaint boundary. That'll give you another layer separation. And these can help. And this is actually how scrolling widgets like list view work. They had a repaint boundary against each one of the elements, so that when you scroll, the elements are moved and they're not actually repainted as such. They're recomposited together. Not each cell is not repainted. Try a repaint boundary or some such. It depends on your layout. So that's the best I can suggest.
Let's see here. Do we need to be good in math, geophysics to build a game? Well, I don't know. I wouldn't say good, but sometimes when things get really complicated, I have to take off my shoes and socks.
I think I'd say the answer to that question is no at the moment. You learn game math. There's very particular math and problems that are solved by games all the time, and they're complex across the entire game dev industry. So honestly, you could just search game dev followed by that one word, game dev. It's actually this gamedev.net. It's very popular forums and other things like that literally are designed to solve these problems. They're like the Stack Overflow of the gaming world. So I'm sure you'll find the answer to all your problems. And once you start learning these patterns and the behaviors, they're in your head, and you're going to just reuse them as you go further, making more and more games.
Well, I mean, for each language, wouldn't there be a library of functions that?
No, not each language, but each like let's say you're using Unity, then using Unity's engine, right? And Unity provides a bunch of functions and features available for you. But there's a lot of the time you're trying to solve computational problems, like and things like you do get used to like the idea of cross product, dot products, vector math, matrix math. These are all things that you are using games. But yeah, it's something that you can learn. It's not, you don't learn that big, you're not learning all this other heavy math stuff. You learn the specifics of game dev.
See, and this way your feet won't get cold. So bouncing back to the shadows. Okay, a long list of cards. Okay, I'm assuming each one of those cards take you to another screen, and the problem is apparently in mobile.
Yeah, so I would honestly just recommend repaint around each one.
See, and this way your feet won't get cold. So bouncing back to the shadows. Okay, a long list of cards. Okay, I'm assuming each one of those cards take you to another screen, and the problem is apparently in mobile.
Yeah, so I would honestly just recommend repaint around each one. Yeah, so I would honestly just recommend repaint bounds around each one. I mean, you're going to look, so if shadows are overlapping, then you know, it has to it has to be boundaries and space them out and see how you go. Right, well, I'll show off this whilst more questions coming. So this was one of the original screen images that I posted online, and it's quite pixelated and everything else. And then there's a people that are actually upscaling things, so you can create upscalers, and then this is what we get. I don't think it's quite hard to see the difference between the two, so I'm very happy doing it. It doesn't say the but you can see how pixelated that light is, or how pixelated the story is, and if I switch over here, how smooth that is in comparison to the full shape of the light and everything. So I'll probably be putting the game image I'm extracting for an upscaler of some sort, in hopes that might provide some better enjoyment out of the original game, because the original game is quite I'll show you this is my first image I extracted. Look how nice that looks. The X is perfectly debugging. Yeah, I mean, I got some patterns, as you can see, I knew that the image had a door over here, and I can see the green pattern of the door. So I slowly worked on making a pretty impression engine. And then I'm getting closer and closer to the end result. These are different planes of color used to make color space. And I made like this, which is yay, it's still broken. And you finally work your way through all the bugs that you can to finally get the end result. So it's a journey. You know, like people are under the impression a lot of the time, this is code just works. It's like no code just works. No code just works. It's
Sometimes code just works.
complex stuff.
Yeah. Now the reason I popped that up there, Ganesh, the answer to your question is right there. Sometimes code just works.
It's complex stuff.
Yeah. Now the reason I popped that up there, Ganesh, the answer to your question is right there. So go ahead and check it out. That will tell you everything you need to know.
It's and there's a link further back in the chat for the sample code for that part here for everyone to get them head start.
So start with a game. If you want to start with a game for Flutter, actually, there are some resources for that. What, Flame, I believe, if I remember correctly. Rive does some interesting stuff. In fact, Rive is going to be here in 3 weeks.
Yeah, there's actually some interesting packages out there. Sorry.
That's cool. Gaming for Flutter.
Yeah, there's
There are some resources for that. What, Flame, I believe, if I remember correctly. Rive does some interesting stuff. In fact, Rive is going to be here in 3 weeks.
Yeah, there's actually some interesting packages out there. Sorry. Yeah, there's this yeah,
From Microsoft.
there's actually some quite interesting sort of libraries including Flame. So there's lots of options, including just user widgets. It depends on anything, right?
Here's an interesting discussion that we have quite often. Using container instead of padding or line, and what that comes down to is constants. I don't mean woman, I mean constant.
So the thing is, container, the way the structure works, it can't be constant at the moment.
Here's an interesting discussion that we have quite often. Using container instead of padding or line, and what that comes down to is constants. I don't mean the woman, I mean const.
So the thing is, container, the way the constructor works, it can't be made constant at the moment. So you have a problem there, and that is to use a container means you break a whole chain of constants. You can't make a whole subtree of your project constant in itself. It's not too much of a performance difference, to be fair, but it is like one of the things of, if I just want to set the size of the widget, one use a container when a size box is what it is. So if you look at the source code of container, it actually says, if I specify the size, then use a constraint box or a size box or something. If you specify the background, use a box decorator. A decorated box, sorry. And
box decoration.
With a box decoration.
And then there's colored box. Also, if all you want is a colored, then you don't need to use a container, use a colored box.
So yeah, it's nice to use multiple features of a container than use them together, but all it does under the hood is do exactly that, combine them together. So it's your choice.
So let's see. Looks like we're running out of questions. I do have a question for this guy. when are we going to have you back on the show to tell us more about Flutter on dual screens?
Yes.
So, and I'm sure you're writing so many new ones for dual screens.
Right.
That's John. John is the guy who started the whole thing as a side project, being able to do Flutter for the Microsoft Duo phone, which is a flip with a multi-screen. And interesting thing, Microsoft picked it up as an actual project, built an actual team, and at first didn't put John on it. But I understand he's finally on that now. And
That's funny. Imagine getting your code and like you make it and then they take it, they don't put you.
let's see here. Oh, yeah, this is for next week. I'm sure people are going to have lots of questions from problems they ran into during the week.
This week.
Oh.
Download the sample code, get going, and we'll be back in next week to help you answer your questions about general Flutter questions and specifically on the puzzle channel, the puzzle hack. Yeah.
Okay. Well, with that, I think we are pretty much wrapped up here. We have day jobs, but we do a screen utilities package for responsive design.
No, I don't recommend that one. There you go. That's what I recommend. I think it's that package, that screen utils. That's not loaded for me.
There are
utils,
some
screen underscore utils was the package. I think I looked at this before. Yeah, no, some 23 months ago. I don't know. This might be it. But no, I've seen a few of these. No, that's not it. Don't ask me what this package is then. Flutter screen util.
How far can you go and your code still works?
Might be different packages. Sorry, go on. To be honest, like, I don't recommend anyone. Sorry, so just go back to that question. I don't recommend any one particular package. However, if it works for you, works for you, use it. Right, like there's no problem there. Just know that you're now relying on third party for whatever it is. So normally you want to keep your third party packages simple. They should be like they should have a purpose and well tested. And then you can be assured that that third party is not going to break your app because they changed the code in their package.
So that is the one you look at. So,
I think that was
So here's and this is interesting in a whole lot of different ways. Number one, you've got two guys in Flutter shirts and a guy who works at VGV, all on screen at the same time. And number two, it's an opinion-based question, kind of like which state management is the best. VGV's linter versus the Flutter.
They have different roles. Try it and then see which one you find is nice for you.
Yeah, there's a nice comparison document, I think, somewhere. I'm not sure where's the link for it, but it just shows what is the difference between different linters. Just whatever works for you.
I wonder if it's Mike Whitestrom. He was doing a bunch of comparisons of different packages and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, we went there last week, John.
Right, come on. Right, thank you for joining us, everyone, and we'll call it an end there. So we want to see all your projects, so start puzzle hacking, and we'll see you next week.
Okay, cool. So that's what I got so far. I'm gonna be spending a few hours going. I'll be out on live soon, and then I'm gonna start making content so that you guys can actually understand what's going on and how you can start. So follow for that. Thanks for watching.